Here we go. Here we go. Well, hi, Ethan.
Hello.
This is a lunch podcast. Yeah.
This is a lunch podcast. We are at the TED conference in Monterey, and we're talking here because it's been a very eventful 24 hours in the blogosphere with people.
A few hours, not 24 already? Maybe.
Oh, I think it's been 24. I just think you've been sleeping for some of them. But it's been an eventful time. A new bill passed in France. Involved with this bill was Nicolas Sarkozy, who is the Minister of the Interior in France, someone who you are personally working on his political campaign and supporting. Is that correct?
Yeah, I help him on his online campaign and also on his trying to, kind of influence his role on the internet and how he could shape the internet in France.
So there's been some concern within the community that we're both a member of, the citizen journalism community, regarding this bill and its implications for citizen journalism. So let me ask first, how did this bill come about? What's the story behind this bill?
Well, so first I should say that I learned about the story just a few hours ago. As I woke up, I just checked, like my mail and my phone and so on, and I learned about it. So I got involved in supporting Sarkozy in his campaign a few months ago. So I had no clue, right?
But this bill is not. When did this bill actually come about?
The work on the law started, as far as I know, a year and a half ago, and it went. It became in effect 2 days ago, as I understand.
Okay.
So it's a very long process. This does not happen like this. Yeah.
So, but it's not your bill.
Well, no. So thank you even for asking. No, because I saw some blogger friends here who asked whether they should consider me as a friend, and I hope you do. But he says no, nothing to do with me. Honestly, there are hundreds of people working, with him, and I don't work with him. I do it just as a, because I think, and there's nothing wrong, I think, with saying for whom you vote and helping him. And I don't, what surprised me, and then we go right into the problem.
Yeah.
But what surprised me is that, if you say you vote for Kerry or for Bush in the past elections, it doesn't mean first you approve everything they do. It doesn't mean you design. Exactly.
But let's jump in and let's talk about why this particular bill has such concern for people who care about citizen journalism.
So let's sum up the bill, maybe.
Sure, absolutely. First. Yeah.
It's specific about an issue which was actually, this is why the law started to be discussed a few years ago, when those terrible happy slapping stories. So people recording violence, people being beaten.
And recording this on handheld mobile phones.
Exactly, and sometimes published
video either on something like YouTube or sometimes just passing it around.
Just either for fun or for getting traffic. I mean, this was terrible.
Okay, so the bill attempts to prevent happy slapping. One of the concerns that people have had about it was that there's a way of reading it that may make it appear to say that uploading any video of violence is prohibited. Now, the concern that comes in, and I'm going to use an American example here, but an example that most Americans know from the media is the Rodney King case. We only found out about this instance of severe brutality by the LA Police Department because there happened to be a citizen nearby who was able to tape that video. We've got a helicopter over
Yeah, that's
here.
okay. I think you can carry on even. Okay, this is Sarkozy coming to
This is Sarkozy watching over here. I just thought we'd take a little piece of
No, this is the US actually military.
Oh, okay. So now we've got black helicopters, so this whole thing actually gets much more. With the Rodney King case, we had this beating captured on videotape. By a citizen who happened to be there with a video camera, got huge airplay, ended up being an enormous scandal for the LAPD. no one would want to prevent this sort of citizen video from going online. Does this bill prevent someone from posting that sort of equivalent video, that equivalent video of police brutality?
So no, the answer is no, and what I saw on blogs and sometimes in the press is a very, very broad view on the bill without having looked at the details. So what I did is I did like anybody could have done, but actually I have a fast access to them. So I called the Ministry of Interior and Sarkozy's team from here, and I got an answer to that, saying that first, the bill only applies to severe violences, which are listed in the bill.
Right. And so we were looking through it. It's sexual violence.
Yeah, let's have a look.
That could threaten
it's terrible.
The life. It's quite severe.
Torture or acte de barbarie. I don't know how you say in English.
Barbarianism. Yeah.
Of course, barbarianism. That can cause death. That can cause permanente infirmité, which means you're
permanent injury. Yeah.
Thank you. So, I mean, this is a full list which I'm not going through, but this is severe. This is not like me, which would never happen, but, slapping somebody, right? Yeah. Okay. It's very severe, first. And second, there are two, this case would totally not be in the law, which I checked as well, because the purpose of the video being done and broadcasted was to tell the public opinion and the authorities about it, which is the same, would be exactly the same with witness.
Okay, so going into the specifics of this, and this is where we sort of get into the meat of this new law.
Yep.
There was this question about, obviously you're allowed to show violence if you are a professional and you're showing it in the course of your work, and this of course gets those of us who are involved with citizen media very
and I'm involved too, right?
But of course, and in fact this is your camera that we're using to make this podcast. But the concern here was that you could prevent, so for instance, we at Global Voices have done work with Witness on their new video hub, and the whole idea is to get people to post videos of human rights violations, and these could in fact be things like torture or violation. Yep. But one of the things that we were talking about is that this bill has this concept of what's the intent. If your intent is to expose offenses, to make it clear to the legal authorities, to make it clear to the press, that
then you're fine.
Then it is.
Then you're absolutely fine, and this is what in the answer I got. A blogger who would spread or would broadcast on his site a video of severe violence against severe violence within this list, which purpose would be to tell the authorities, would be absolutely fine.
Okay, so one of the questions that does come up,
and they take examples,
and I do think this gets a little tricky, is that we know that when France passes a law, there's a lot of other nations looking at it. Arab nations, Francophone nations in many cases are looking at this. One of the concerns that's come up about this is that this could be read, even if it's a misrepresentation, as a ban on this form of citizen journalism. How do we avoid that? How do we avoid, Ben Ali's government in Tunisia adopting this and saying, this is what Sarkozy is doing in France, we're going to do the same thing in Tunisia and we'll be right to do it?
Well, honestly, again, I'm not a politician even. I'm a blogger.
Okay.
So
you're a very politically connected blogger.
Well, what I can do even is get the answer, but this is something I never do, ever. Is I don't provide the answer myself on topics I don't know. Okay. So I think you're absolutely right to raise the question. I think the intent is not to separate citizen journalism from professional journalism. Actually, it doesn't quote the word journalism either.
Right, it says
professional, which, to be honest with you, I think it's something which is I told the AP also an hour ago. I think the difference between being one of yours, I think the difference between amateur and professional is something very, very slim now, which is difficult to tell.
When we go back to this Rodney King case, that person making the video was absolutely not a professional; it was absolutely an amateur at that point. So I think that's a part of this that I still remain concerned about, is that distinction of doing this in your professional capacity. I would argue that if you built this law just to have the intent, as long as the intent behind the video is to show, here's a crime being committed, here's an offense being committed, as opposed to this sort of violence for entertainment of happy slapping, why do we need this distinction between a professional and
I agree. I think this was meant, I guess this was meant to let the professionals do their job, but I think it doesn't make much sense. And I mean, this is like, I will investigate more, but I don't know who was it.
So let's talk.
But again, it's written here in the answer I got from the Ministry of Interior. If the video has been done, if the intent is to protect the victims, it's absolutely fine.
Okay. And you're going to be posting this text?
Absolutely. So this is an official answer I got because I saw this and I tried to be as fast as possible, and I had somebody from the team of Sarkozy, at midnight answering me on that.
So let's just talk very quickly about this. This has probably not been your favorite morning, but one of the interesting implications of this is because there's been a great deal of pressure from bloggers internationally, we've gotten quite a bit of clarification. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So can we call this a victory for citizen journalism in fighting for the rights of citizen journalism?
Again, I am a citizen. I don't know if I am a citizen journalism, but I am a citizen. And what the only thing I did was to go one step beyond, is to actually say for whom I vote, which I think is fine. And you may agree or not agree with my political choice. That's fine. We can talk about it, but I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. And I think they actually want to protect citizen journalism, and they push people to do that. Honestly, take the other stance. Think about the happy slapping. I think an intent to stop that is good.
I don't think anyone questions
the terrible
intent. I think that the hope at this point is that through this process of looking closely at what the law actually says, looking at this official answer from Sarkozy, asking these hard questions, do we have to distinguish between professional and amateur? How does this intent statute?
I don't understand why they did. And I'll investigate further. But I guess they also wanted to protect the freedom of the press in some way, and I think it's a mistake to make that distinction. Well,
let's hope that one of the things we can get cleared up.
But that's a personal view.
Well, we can hope, and maybe one of our hopes in this.
But everything's fine. I don't think there is a scandal. Honestly, the conclusion is really that people didn't look enough into the details, and I think it's good that you raised the topic because it pushed me to.
Or the conclusion is that Sarkozy and the government didn't do as good enough a job of explaining what the law actually is.
Yeah, that's possible. We are also in the middle of a presidential race, which ends in about a month. So, the communication maybe he has two hats. So, but anyway, I don't want to defend him on that. I wanted to be really factual and have a look. And again, if there is. I have to say that I have freedom too in my choice. I do it not for the money. I do it just because I think it's a good choice for France. And if I see anything which I don't like, I will not stay there. And for the time being, everything is fine. And the questions that was asked was very important for me too. If actually it was against citizen journalism and against video blogging and so on, I would say I would totally disagree and probably leave. But that's not the case.
Well, Loic, thank you for taking the time to get this answer from Sarkozy. Thanks, everyone, for watching as we try to explore this. Let's hope that we get even more clarity.
And you can carry on
in the future.
Asking questions.
Thanks to the bloggers out there who have asked these hard questions, because we probably would not have gotten this response from the Ministry of the Interior otherwise.
And thank you, Yves.
And thank you, Loic.
Ciao.
Ciao.